Thanks for downloading this show from PC One. Before we get rolling, here's a word from one of the folks who helped bring you this podcast. The following program is a PodcastOne.com production. From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. I am coming to you from the mean streets of Los Angeles, California. I'm back at my house at 316 Gimmick Street, sitting here on my couch, watching my TV that's mounted on a wall. Hershey the Wonder Dog is sleeping like a baby. My wife is in the bedroom taking a nap with Callie and Moolah. I'm recording the open for this illustrious podcast, and this is a damn good podcast, and I think you will enjoy. I got a chance the other day to talk with Lucha Underground's very own Johnny Mundo, a.k.a. John Morrison, a.k.a. Johnny Nitro, and might as well just call him John Hennigan, the actor. We're going to be talking about a little bit of pro wrestling because that's what we talk about a lot, about 15, 20 minutes worth of that. And then we're going to spend a lot of time dissecting and discussing his brand new movie, Boone The Bounty Hunter. He came up with this idea, the concept. He co-wrote the script. He stars in it. He's been working on this project for over 5 years, and it's finally done and released. And I saw the damn movie, and it's a badass film, and you should check it out, too. You can get it now at iTunes and Amazon, and it'll be available on DVD exclusively at Walmart starting June the 6th. God dang, it was good seeing Johnny in person. Guy always maintains an impeccable physique. And when I say I like this movie, I really did. It's a movie that's just a lot of fun. It kind of pays homage to the old 1980s action flicks. Obviously, it's got some humor in it. Johnny is very charming. He comes across real well. There's some great supporting actors in this movie. The thing I like about this movie is it's so much fun. These guys are working their asses off trying to make this movie, and the shooting budget was 15 days, plus some other photography, which you'll hear about in the podcast. But god dang, man, this was a passion project for Johnny. He put his ass on the line to make this movie, and if I would have watched this movie and thought it was a bad movie, I'd tell you the movie wasn't worth a damn. But I loved it. The movie has a heart to it. Johnny gets over in the movie. You really like his character, and then the chips get down, and all the weight of the world is on Boone the Bounty Hunter's shoulders. And I ain't going to give you any spoilers, but nonetheless, it's a damn good movie, a very fun movie. If you're a fan of John Morrison, Johnny Mundo, Johnny Nitro, whatever you want to call him, as John Hennigan, I think this guy's got some legs, and I think if, I don't want to give out any spoilers, but I think this kid's got a future. Check out this movie. I absolutely loved it. It's very, very fun. And you will see, as you listen to the podcast and hear how invested he was in this project, because believe me, mister, he was up to his eyeballs. Anyway, before I get to Johnny Mundo, a couple things going on with me. Last time I was on a podcast talking with my illustrious wife, Kristen, I started coming down with that bug. And I told you guys I was going to be able to kick that bug's ass in 3, maybe 5 days max. Hell, it's been over 6 days, and I'm still selling over here at the crib. Hell, I stayed in bed for about a day and a half. Got dang low-grade fever, scratchy throat, runny nose, stopped up nose, coughing, crap in my lungs, fluid. Holy smokes, you talk about a set of heat. This damn bug worked up a set of heat on the toughest SOB that ever laced up a pair of boots in the history of the WWF. Hell, this damn bug stomped a mud hole in my ass and walked it dry. I was selling so hard for this bug, I figured I might as well just pull a blade out and get color and bleed for it. Well, hell, finally this morning, I could barely talk when I got out of bed this morning, but about noon, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, whatever time it was, I said, dude, you got to start firing up a comeback and whip this bug's ass. I don't know if it's a bacteria or a virus or a paramecium or I don't know what it is, but god dang, it's been kicking the crap out of you, and you got to do something. People are going to lose their respect for you. So I'm mounting up a little bit of a comeback. If you can hear the scratchiness and the lack of bass and tone in my voice, is because I'm still selling from that god dang virus. Hell, that damn Wikipedia article said it could last 7 to 10, 11, 12 days, whatever. Yeah, it's probably going to last a couple more. But anyway, let's get to Johnny Mundo and talk about movie making, stunt work, and of course some pro wrestling and what he's coming up with next at Lucha Underground and on the indie scene. But before we get to Johnny Mundo, I got to smarten you guys up about how to get a clean, close shave at a great price. Y'all know I like saving money, and you know one way I save? Dollar Shave Club. Joining DollarShaveClub.com/Steve gives you a chance to enjoy a luxury shave at an economy price. Buying a razor is a lot like buying a new car. To get smooth luxury quality, you have to pay a high price, and the reality is that you're really just paying for fancy marketing and features that you don't need. That's why you need to sign up for DollarShaveClub.com/Steve. Dollar Shave Club razors are great quality. They've got the shave tech that you actually need and none of the overpriced gimmicks. Dollar Shave Club is a smarter choice, and if you really want to smarten up, then get Dollar Shave Club's executive razor and use it with their Dr. Carver shave butter. The blade just glides right over your skin, giving you a close, smooth shave. Dr. Carver shave butter also helps prevent ingrown hairs and razor bumps. So say goodbye to the 24-blade swivel pivot robo razor with laser pointer that costs your whole paycheck. Say goodbye to driving to the store to buy the cheap one-use disposable razor that tears up your skin more than it shaves your facial hair. And say hello to DollarShaveClub.com/Steve. Join today and get a smooth shave with a great razor for a fraction of the price. Your skin will thank you for it, and your wallet will too. Smarten up and join DollarShaveClub.com/Steve today, because right now, new members get their first month of the executive razor with a tube of Dr. Carver shave butter for only $5 with free shipping. After that, the razors are just a few bucks a month. There are no long-term commitments, no hidden fees, and you can cancel whenever you want. Sign up now at DollarShaveClub.com/Steve. That's DollarShaveClub.com/Steve.
This week on All of the Above with Norman Lear, Veep star Julia Louis-Dreyfus sits down with Norman and Paul.
Well, you know, there wasn't a script when I was first talking to HBO about it. There was a concept, and my agent had said to me, listen, they're developing this thing at HBO about an unhappy vice president, an unhappy female vice president. And I thought to myself, well, I got to get in on this action because it's gold, and it's so amazing that nobody's done it before.
Listen today on the PodcastOne app or subscribe at Apple Podcasts or on PodcastOne.com. The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
All right, man, I'm sitting here across the table with Johnny Mundo, John Morrison from WWE days, John Hennigan, if you talk about movies.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about the damn movie, Boone The Bounty Hunter. First of all, man, it's good to see you. You look like $1 million. What have you been up to?
Man, I've been making towns, bumping and feeding, paying for this Boone The Bounty Hunter movie. Movies aren't cheap, but it's been really good. I've been on a really good run. This has been my best year as far as professional wrestling goes, and I've been working on this movie Boone now for almost 5 years, and it came out yesterday, so I'm doing amazing.
Congrats on the movie. We talked about it on the phone, and I want to hear all about the story and the process because you're really invested in this movie, and we'll get to that. But just with the wrestling, before we get on that movie, bumping and feeding, you making the towns? You working heel right now?
Yeah, I'm working, I'd say 9 out of 10 shows I'm working heel. But every once in a while I work face too. I did a show. That? You know, I think it depends on the promotion. I mean, Mexico, I'm established on TV down there. I'm a heel. Wrestle Circus, AAW, heel those places. I go there a lot. Pro Wrestling Revolver up in Iowa. I've been wrestling as a face. I actually wrestled there as Boone. That's Sammy Callahan's promotion, and that was a hell of a lot of fun. I gotta tell you about that later. It was cool. You heard of Trevor Lee?
Yes, I have.
We did this whole deal where I found a bag of weed on Trevor Lee and then chased him out and around the building and then chased him back into the ring during a later match, and then we ran away again and came back maybe a half hour later after intermission and finished our match. And it's really fun to wrestle as Boone, get all those Boone catchphrases in, and also it was the first time I had a chance to wrestle Trevor, super talented guy, and you know Sammy Callahan?
Yes.
His thing that he's got going up there, the Pro Wrestling Revolver in Iowa, is really gaining some momentum. He's got a real cool combination of old school guys like, I hesitate to say me, but me, Billy Gunn, Bob Holly was on the last one I did down there, and a lot of the new school guys like like Trevor Lee, A.R. Fox, Sammy, the Christ Brothers, Brian Cage, Keith Lee, Moose. He's got a good group.
Where are the new school guys getting their training from?
You know what? It's an interesting question. I feel like with the amount of independent wrestling that's going on right now, the best training that the new school guys are getting is from doing these shows, because a lot of these guys that are busting their asses and they're wrestling Friday, Saturday, Sunday every week is that's where they're getting their training. They're learning how to pop crowds and how to work in front of crowds. And every once in a while, like last time I wrestled Sammy, we were talking about constructing the match, and the first thing he said was like, "Man, like comeback bumping feeds, that stuff just isn't over anymore. It's 2017," and I was like, "Huh." That's pretty cool. I was just thinking about that because that's the first thing my mind went to, and I always wonder about that because sometimes depending on where you're at in a fed like maybe like PWG or Wrestle Circus or Wrestling Revolver or AAW, PCW also, I think fans view wrestling differently, and it's almost become like a new evolution of the business, and the pace is faster. Moves are sold a little bit less, which hurts more for guys like me, but it's what the people want, and ultimately you're working for the people.
Ultimately you are. So then what is kind of the trademark comeback for this new school?
That's the last time I was on this podcast, I said baby faces give the people what they want, heels take it away. The problem with that statement is you have to figure out what the people want. That's the secret. And I don't have the answer to that. I've got ideas that I try every time I'm out there in front of people. And what I think the people want slowly changes over time.
Really?
Yeah.
So you said this has been your best year in the business of pro wrestling? Busiest?
Busiest, and as far as I'm a current Lucha Underground world champion. I'm the first ever absolute champion of AAA. So I've got the Mega Championship, to say it in English, their Latino Americano Championship, which is like their Intercontinental, and their Mundial Crucero title, which is like their cruiserweight belt. It's the first time that anyone has had all three, and certainly that a foreign guy from America like me has had all the titles.
Oh, congrats to you on that. Are you going back and forth to Mexico?
Yeah, I'm going back. I'm going down there maybe once a month. And
can you answer this question for me? I was doing some research on a couple of wrestlers, and I came across Mark Jindrak. And man, dude, he went over to Mexico, and he's like everywhere.
I was always fascinated by Jindrak. And
I was too. What an athlete!
So so I work for AAA, and Mark works for CMLL, which is the direct opposition to AAA, which is too bad because him and I were actually pretty good friends for a short period of time when our paths crossed at OVW and then up on SmackDown. But when I go down there, the circle of people that I'm with don't really cross over with the CMLL crew. But you're right. He's in telenovelas down there. He's either married or getting married to a Mexican telenovela star / supermodel. He's doing commercials. He's working his ass off, and it's pretty cool because he really made a life for himself as a pro wrestler completely outside the United States.
Man, it's been amazing to see what that guy's done over there. And we're here to talk about Boone The Bounty Hunter. We're going to get there in just a second, but because, most of my hardcore fans are professional wrestling fans, and that's what you're doing, and that's what helped pay for this movie. We're going to get there in just a second. Let's talk about Mark Jindrak. But in talking about Mark Jindrak, let's shift over to Sean O'Hare. I started researching this guy because I know he passed away a couple years back. And so I was watching some of the highlight reels this guy had on YouTube that these people put together. And I was watching this kid, and I remember crossing paths with him a couple of times. I had my own thing going. I was kind of a loner. But, I just passed by, and him and Jindrak were a team for a little while. And I believe him and Chuck Palumbo were tag team for a little bit. But God dang, what a dynamic performer. A guy that big, 6'5", about 290, built like a Greek god, running up turnbuckles, cutting back flips. I mean, his moveset was like, I've never seen a big guy that looks that good do the things that he did. And I would say that was he's probably one of the biggest guys or most talented guys that never made it for reasons I don't know. Do you know anything about this guy?
Yeah. The night that I met Sean O'Hare, actually, it was before they'd announced the winners of Tough Enough, and all of us went out to a bar in Stamford, and they told us that another wrestler was going to be there. It turned out to be Sean O'Hare. And that night, Sean picked a bar fight with some guy, like a little guy, super kicked him in the bar. Like full on super kicked the guy, but for real in the bar. Knocked the guy down. The guy fell down, got up, and then ran out to try to get Sean kicked out. And then Sean turned to us, all the Tough Enough kids, and was like, "Hey guys, if anyone asks, he started it." And so now we're like, "Oh, officers, that guy threw his beer on that huge guy standing there, like with the no, not wearing sleeves, that 300-pound man. Yeah, that little guy threw his beer on him, and then that's why he kicked him. And ever since then, Sean and I'd say we were legitimate friends. We when I got to OVW, he was there. Hung out several times with him and his little brother in bars in Louisville. And I think you're right, but the one thing I would say about him is he was way ahead of his time, because if he was doing what he was doing in 2004, now in current independent wrestling, he would be blowing the roof off of places. But in the WWE at OVW, at the time that he was there, all that stuff was frowned upon, and all the things that he was doing, they might have popped the crowd a little bit, but he was burying himself with the agents and the writers and the staff and everybody. And he also a lot of times was doing that stuff while he was wrestling heel. So he like had some of the most, like the most potential almost of anyone that I came into contact with, but I feel like he didn't fully grasp the psychology of when to do his stuff and how to do it, and then how to play the backstage politics game, which is a bummer because no one likes playing that game. But he was a good guy.
Yeah, it was interesting because like we say, when you have a heel with that dynamic of a moveset and you want to get all your stuff in, I mean, you're kind of shining yourself up and you're heel, and you need to be shining this baby up, and then you're going to get heat on him. So a lot of times, there's not room for all of your stuff.
I did a round of house shows, like when they called me and Matt Capitelli up for our first trial. We were wrestling Sean O'Hare and Horseshoe, and it did not go well. Like they kind of popped for the Tough Enough kids, even though it had been a year since the show was over. Me and Matt came out, and you got Horseshoe, who looks awesome,
yes,
and we'll kill you.
Yeah.
And Sean O'Hare, the same thing. And both those guys are 6'5", 6'6", almost 300 pounds. And then you got the two little kids. And for some reason, like as soon as the match started, I just got the feeling that all people wanted to see was Horseshoe and Sean O'Hare to kill us. and they did. And Sean O'Hare would do stuff like before the comeback, like super kick the other babyface off the apron and fire up, and he was popping the crowd. But it wasn't what the office wanted. Like they wanted to see two monster heels have a match with the two babyface, like Tough Enough kids. And I think if things worked out a little bit differently for him, he could have been a huge star in the biz.
I think he could have been. You brought up Tough Enough. Jesus Christ, I hosted that show back in 09 or 11.
2010. I remember. 2010? I was there.
But what year did you win?
I won 2003.
God dang, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been, man, I think about that sometimes. 14 years since, or maybe it aired in 2002, and then I moved to OVW in 2003. So
how many years have you been in the wrestling business now?
Like 15 years.
Son of a gun. Okay, let's go back to the Matt Capitelli and the Bob Holly thing, because you just said you saw Bob Holly on the indie scene.
Yeah.
You were there in person, right?
Yeah, I was there the whole time.
I get all the different stories. Bob Holly is a good friend of mine. We traveled a couple of shots together, and I always liked working with him. And he was snug, and I was snug back.
Yeah.
Okay, the beatdown happened on Tough Enough. What was your takeaway from that?
So at the time, and perspectives change over time. At the time, I was pissed because I was friends with Matt, and I was a contestant on this show, and I didn't know Bob. I mean, I knew Bob like from television, but I didn't know him personally. And I felt like he came and took liberties by beating up Matt to try to get himself over. And when I thought about it, I was like, nah, that's messed up, because I feel like the show was supposed to be about teaching people the business, and that's not what it seemed like Bob did. In retrospect, after talking to Bob, and I consider Bob a good friend now, he had a broken neck when he was taping that episode. His neck was broken, so he's in a bad mood. He shows up, and he's getting in the ring with a couple of kids who he doesn't know, and our green is goose crap.
Yeah.
So doing what he did was really, he was just being Bob. That's how Bob wrestles. That's how he wrestled with everybody. And I think he got a little excited. He was in a bad mood. Sometimes Bob could get a little salty, and that's what happened that day. And in retrospect, I think that's just part of the biz, and it's not like that anymore. Like you don't pay dues. Like you don't pay dues like you had to pay 30 years ago, and even the type of stuff that I had to do. Like me and Joey Mercury wrestled Bob and Charlie Haas for 3 months on live events before we debuted, and that was rough. And Bob, then I would consider a friend, and he still whooped our asses. But my takeaway from the whole thing was as far as wrestling goes and all that stuff goes, there's perspectives, and to this day, Matt Capitelli is one of the best people I've ever known. Actually, went to OVW a few weeks ago and saw Matt. He's I don't know if you've heard his story. He had brain cancer and had this huge tumor removed, so he had to stop wrestling. But he still helps Danny with the amateur class at OVW. And it's kind of sad seeing him, man. Like, he is a second or two slow. He's still married. He's still managing gyms out there. And he noticed it. He said he felt like between playing football through college, wrestling training at OVW, and getting a tumor the size of a golf ball taken out of his head, all those things combined just was and years of chemo and radiation to beat cancer kind of left him like feeling it, like he felt the effects.
But he's still getting along okay?
Yeah, he's still getting along okay, but it's noticeable.
And it's an interesting story, man. Just segue out of that quick Bob Holly story. You know, I used to always work with Bob a lot, and back in the day, and it was the weekend. Saturdays and Sundays was double shots. Yeah, I'll never forget. We was working Pittsburgh Mellon Arena. I was working heel. Bob was a baby, so it was a traditional slap spot. I slapped him first.
Oh my God! We did slap spots the whole time. But, all right, tell me. Go ahead.
So you know what I'm saying? So we're in Mellon Arena, and I think the matinee show is Cincy or whatever. The matinee shows are about 150 miles away. And, boy, I called a slap spot, and, pow, I hit him. And, boy, Bob hit me back. And I said, God dang, I ain't calling this sumbitch tonight. And he started laughing, and, I started laughing, and we continued on with the match. But, I think I went ahead and called the same spot in the matinee town anyway. But, God dang, I set myself up for a hell of a receipt. And when Bob gets the last shot, you're going to lose.
Those 3 months that it was Eminem versus Bob and Charlie, every match started with a slap spot. Every match. And it was either me or Joey with Bob in the middle of the ring. Heel slaps Bob. And that feels pretty good, right? It feels good because he's whooped your ass the night or the week before. Yeah. But then it's almost like after you slap Bob, like those moments before he slaps you are the worst because you're like, oh, okay, he's gonna kill me. I want to say 50% of the time I was knocked out on my feet, or he popped an eardrum or something. And there was times where he would slap me, and then we'd try to run the first spot, and he'd shoot me off. I just fall over and tag out. But we laugh about that now, Yeah.
How's he doing, man? I talked to him on the phone about a year ago. We were going to do the podcast, and man, I traded a few calls with him. He ended up in Iowa.
Yeah.
And, man, he's hunting. I mean, I know he's camping and he's fishing, and it just sounds like he's really into the outdoors.
He looked like he was in better shape right now than the current WWE roster. He was TV ready. And when I saw him, me and Billy Gunn were talking about training, and Bob was talking about his morning regimen, and he was like, you know what, guys, I usually wake up around 3:30 a.m., have my first meal by 4 a.m., I hit the gym 5 a.m., done by 7, have my second meal about 8, and my third meal about 10:30. I've had first 4 meals by the time it's 1 o'clock, 2 in the afternoon, and I was like, oh my God. Every day, that's what he does, and you can tell by looking at him. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how old Bob is now, but he looks like $1 million.
Yeah, but that's a spot-on impression, just the whole way the cadence was there. But anyway, Bob Holly, I hope you're listening. Maybe we'll talk soon.
Yeah, much love, Bob.
Hey, okay, now let's shift gears. Boone The Bounty Hunter is the movie we're here to talk about, and I just watched it, and I loved it. But before we get into what it took to make it, let me give a quick word of thanks to one of the sponsors who's making this episode with Johnny Mundo possible, and that's Diamond Dallas Page and DDP Yoga. DDP Yoga is a great fitness program that will get you on the path to healthy living and keep you there. You've heard me run down all the pro wrestlers doing DDP Yoga. Everyone from Jake the Snake to Scott Hall to Chris Jericho to RVD to Mick Foley. And there's no better time than right now to give DDP Yoga a try, especially since Dallas is giving y'all 20% off the DDP Yoga DVDs, the DDP Yoga Now app, and all DDP Yoga related merch, hats, t-shirts, heart monitors, mats, and more. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Austin. The DDP Yoga Now app gives you everything you need to achieve your health and fitness goals. DDP's got tons of workouts, nutrition tips and recipes, a way to track your progress, and even offers motivation for those days that you need it the most. The app also lets you access live workouts from the DDP Yoga Performance Center. And you can do DDP Yoga anytime, anywhere. thanks to the app. You just open it up on your smartphone or tablet and get to work. And like I said, you get all that for 20% off by going to ddpyoga.com/Austin. So get on the DDP Yoga program today and change your life. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Austin. I said go to ddpyoga.com/Austin. Everybody's got a to-do list. Drop off the dry cleaning, pick up some milk. Here's an idea. Let's save hundreds of dollars on car insurance. And the good thing is, you don't have to drop off or pick up anything. All you have to do is go to geico.com, and in 15 minutes, you could be saving 15% or more on car insurance. Extra money in your pocket, it just may be the most rewarding to do. You do today.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
Now let's shift gears.
Okay.
Boone The Bounty Hunter. That's what we're here to talk about. I just watched the damn movie. I loved it. And you know, I'm going to drop one on you. It's a family-friendly show. And I ain't bullshitting. That's a good movie. It's fun. Dude, it's a damn good movie. Tell me about the damn process. Who wrote this thing? Because you're in from the get-go on this. How did it all come about? You tell the story.
Man, well, first of all, I've done maybe 15 or so little movies as an actor, but this is the first time that I've finished a movie. And this is the first time I finished a movie as a writer, producer, and actor. But also the first time I've had a movie come out that I'm legitimately proud of and excited for people to see. I left WWE at the end of 2011, and I turned down a 3-year extension because I wanted to do an action movie. I wanted to have more creative autonomy. I didn't know that I wanted to do Boone at that time. I just knew that I wanted to do something. And when I left, some time went by, and I was, like hanging out at bars and going to the gym and like just kind of leisurely, like spent a few months after that huge run with WWE. And I started thinking about the kind of movie that I wanted to do. And the original concept for Boone was I wanted to do a movie where I could do what I'm best at. And it's pro wrestling and parkour and 80s style action choreography with maybe some like MMA brawling type things. But anytime I'm in a movie and they want me to do Wing Chun or hand trapping or have a sword fight, I'm always down. That's fun, but I'm not an expert at fencing or swords. So the idea for Boone was I wanted to create a vehicle that has the type of action that I'm best at, and then a character that I think would be the best suited for me in the type of movie that I would have watched over and over again when I was a kid. I always liked action comedies, and I like it when, like Big Trouble in Little China or in Die Hard, like Bruce Willis is like laughing the whole time. He's enjoying the violence and the mayhem, and I felt like when I was watching those movies that I was along for the ride with the character. So I wanted this movie to be about a character who liked the mayhem, who liked the violence, who liked starting fights and causing trouble. So all that being said, that was the beginning of this seed. Like Boone the Bounty Hunter is a reality show bounty hunter because I wanted him to do not just like chasing people. I wanted him to do flashy parkour for a reason instead of just for no reason.
Right.
So that was part of the psychology of the development.
To keep the ratings up.
Yeah.
Within the show,
right.
In the movie.
But in the greater context, because I wanted to do flashy moves for this movie, and I wanted it to make sense.
Now, did the Dog the Bounty Hunter, big influence, Boone the Bounty Hunter?
Big fan of Dog. And so I don't know if you know anything about Dog, but at one point in his career, he went to Mexico to pursue I believe it was a rapist who fled the country, brought the guy back, and then got arrested for bringing him back, and people rallied because he'd done the right thing. So that was the idea for going to Mexico to pursue a criminal. It was based on something that Dog actually did in real life.
Right.
Yeah, big fan of him, and that was, I mean, obviously the vest that Boone wears is kind of like how Dog, like when I think of bounty hunters, the first bounty hunter that comes to mind is Dog. He's the only guy that I think is infiltrated pop culture as a legit bounty hunter.
So did you write this thing?
So I had that concept. Then I contacted a writer that I had met through a manager of mine at the time, and we sat down and I wrote the first draft of this movie. And my first draft was a little rough. And I worked with that guy for about a year. We went back and forth. We got to and also the first version of Boone I wrote was like a $10 million movie. And as soon as I started talking to people, I realized there's no way like an unproven pro wrestler / first-time filmmaker is going to get that kind of money. So every draft...
You got to dial it down.
Oh, yeah. It got cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, even until like a week before we started shooting. We slashed the script, like cut 10 pages and rewrote it again because of that reason. But so I wrote this movie and worked with Josh back and forth. He wrote a draft, I wrote a draft, and it evolved. And then I decided, why don't I shoot a sizzle trailer for this and try to raise money that way? Spent like $20K shooting this sizzle trailer, and we used a lot of the footage from that in the actual movie, which is nice. But didn't get anywhere, spun my wheels. A lot of meetings at coffee shops, a lot of promises, a lot of production companies.
Man, before you continue, that's one of the hardest things to get done in this town is to get a green light on anything.
And there's tons of people that want to say they can greenlight it, or they like it, or they want to work with you, but it's really, you're just spinning your wheels. And I did that for about a year, and I finally found through a friend of mine this company that was going to co-finance. They said if I put half the budget into an escrow account, they'd match it. Couldn't touch any of the money for 45 days, and I kind of got nervous about it. But in order to raise that money, I had to sell my house. So I had my place in Manhattan Beach and had to go because it felt like the project was slipping away and it was never going to happen. So I did that, sold the house. As soon as I got the check.
Hold it, man. You just sold your crib.
Remember every time
don't just gloss over that.
Well, every time
a heavy-duty decision. For me, my cheap ass, I mean, I know the value of $1. Dropping $20K on the sizzle reel, that's real money, and that's your money that you're bumping and feeding for. Comes time, you're so into this, so passionate about it, and this is what you want to do, and this is what you've been dreaming about. You sell your crib.
And it felt like the only, actually, it was the only way. It wasn't going to happen any other way. No one, or if it was, it would have. I mean, I had maybe 30 or 50 meetings with people and spent hours talking to people, and everyone eventually fell off,
Isn't that interesting? Back in the day when I first came out here and I'd go to the meetings and you just think everything's, oh, hey, that's a great meeting.
Yeah.
That's a great meeting. I've been to a lot of great meetings way back in the day.
Right.
These days, as I'm sure you're about the same with me, man, I can smell BS from a mile away, especially sitting right across the table from it. And, things just, it's really, really hard. But it's the grind. It's the hustle. And it's, dude, it's what this town's all about.
The first thing I say now when it comes to meetings is, do we have to meet in person? Are you sure we can't just talk on the phone? Because if you want to talk on the phone, I'll talk on the phone tonight or tomorrow. But if I have to drive to Hollywood and meet you at a coffee shop, or I have to go to your office, it seems like you're full of it. Because really, what are we going to accomplish? We're just going to have a conversation in person that's not going to go anywhere. If we're going to have that, I'd rather just have it on the phone so I don't have to sit in traffic.
Great solution. Hey, man, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, man, why don't I just Skype with somebody or whatever, go to a meeting or something like that? I mean, if I can sit on my computer or my laptop, I'm going to sit there and see you. It's damn near just like being there. I can have a cup of coffee. You can have a cup of coffee. But we can Skype it.
Right.
And then if it's really real, then we can hook up and shake hands and, hey, take the next step.
Exactly.
But anyway, that's what if. And there are probably people that do that. But nonetheless, okay, you sell the crib. You close, you get funded, and so what's the next step in the process?
So I sold the crib, I put the money in the account. That other company, they didn't get back to me for a week, and then the guy called and said he had a family emergency, and another week went by, and then I called him a couple more times, and they just went away. So then I had just put everything, the rest of the money, everything I had, I just put into the Boone LLC account, because we'd kind of already started, we attached a director, Rob Curbison, really talented guy. Spencer Grammer was attached, Jane Parks Smith. Talked to Rampage about this, had been talking to him for a while, Osric. And everybody had kind of started to clear their dates and say, we're going to shoot this thing. And if I didn't pull the trigger then, it would have been we probably would have lost half of those people at least, and then pushed a year, and it would have taken a whole nother year to restaff. So it felt like I was kind of over a barrel on that one, and I just had to put everything into the movie for it to happen.
How nervous were you? Because like you said, man, you got your money right here, and you're trying to line up all these dates, and you got some real high-profile people in the movie.
Right.
And Rampage was awesome. It was nice to see that guy smiling with this sense of comedic timing that he had. I mean, because I've used to see him, years back in the Octagon just knocking people out.
He should be in comedies. Like, have you ever met him or talked to him?
Just one time at a UFC thing.
Oh man, he's a really funny dude, and he loves to laugh too. He'd probably be a good guest for this. But he's a really, really funny dude, and I felt like that on set. And when we had to rewrite the script because of dates and also like being able to afford Rampage. So he originally was going to come to Mexico with us, and those changes in the script got made the week before we started shooting, just for budget reasons. But every time I watch the movie, that's kind of a shame. When I see that, I'm always like, man, like Rampage is such a positive, fun presence.
Yes, but the way that he was included in on that shenanigan down in Mexico, it's almost like he's there.
Yeah.
And so, his value is still in the movie. He's still in the movie because he's very engaging, and he's very good. So you're doing this. How did you come about this director?
So we had originally a director attached named David Winning, who'd been attached to this project for years. Nice guy, a Canadian guy, and he's really busy. And I'd never met him personally. I talked to him on the phone a few times, and he was excited. But when we pushed the dates for the third time, he said he had a conflict. He was working on a Hallmark movie or something that they were shooting in Vancouver, and he couldn't do Boone anymore. So then suddenly we had like a 3-week sprint where we were like, crap, okay. We need to find a director, and we need to find someone, the best person we can find, who's available to like start tomorrow and jump into pre-production. And it came through one of the producers on the project, John Perkins, who saw a movie called Redline that Rob had directed. And it was a low-budget movie about a situation with a subway train, and it was a really low budget movie, and John Perkins said he thought that Rob handled it really well, and the movie had done well, so we called him and set up a meeting.
When you say a low budget movie and the director handled it well, explain that to the listeners out there, because I know what time it is.
Yeah. Okay. So there's a lot of movies out there, especially movies that a lot of people are listening to this probably the most familiar with, that are like your $100 million, $200 million blockbusters that you see in the movie theaters. And you have the luxury, if you're a director, producer, or an actor in those movies, to pretty much get to control every aspect of the shot, the frame. You can afford to have a permit, and you can afford to have the lighting set up. You can afford to take your time with the shots. But on a low-budget movie like Redline, for example, which was I want to say like $100,000 movie, very low. Rob created this the drama based around a subway, and the acting was good, and the action and the effects and everything was really good based on that budget. He'd done several other movies. He did a comedy web series that I liked, and he did a movie called Snowmen with Ray Liotta. So he had experience on bigger projects too. But handling the low budget is almost like you have to be ready to improvise if you're directing on a low budget, because you walk into a situation, and if you're running out of time, you're either going to cut a scene, some pages from your movie, or you're going to have to start compromising on shots. And that's what the job of a low-budget movie director is maximizing.
Yeah, you got to be efficient.
Yeah, and decide what's the priority.
Yeah.
There was one scene in the Mexican town that Valuze Ranch was our most expensive location. And I wrote the script, and I really was in love with this one idea of how to pay off Lorenzo Lamas' character by having all the bad guys go to the bar and having Lorenzo like trick them at the bar. But we ran out of time, and we couldn't even shoot it. So I got into an argument with Rob that day about having to stay after and keeping people after to shoot the scene. And ultimately, like, I was upset, but I was fighting a losing battle. Like, no one could stay. Like, we were getting kicked out of the location. It wasn't just like the cast and the crew. It was like,
yeah, but you're the money guy. You're number one. You wrote this thing,
right?
You hired everybody,
right?
Basically,
But
so
at the
how
end
does that
of the
argument
day,
go?
Well, basically, Rob said, "Look, we're getting kicked out of Valuze Ranch. We're starting tomorrow at 8 a.m. It's after midnight. That's less than an 8-hour turnaround. Yeah. The people working for us aren't going to show up at 8, and if we don't show up at 8, we're going to lose time tomorrow." So he made a lot of sense.
Right.
Like he was thinking logically, like a director should, and I was thinking passionately at the time, like an artist, like a guy that that wrote this movie, and I wanted to see it come out the way that I'd written it. And that specific scene, Rob then talked to Lorenzo and asked him if he wouldn't mind coming back for an additional day, and Lorenzo agreed.
That's very cool that they got to do that. I popped when I saw him in the movie.
Yeah, he did a huge favor by coming back the extra day, and when he showed up at the end, that was because he decided to come back for the extra day that we hadn't originally negotiated.
Here's one for you. How many days did y'all have to shoot this movie?
So we shot the whole movie in 15 days of principal photography, then 3 days of pickups with a big crew, and then I did maybe 8 days of skeleton crew pickups. So say that hill fall, for example.
Great sequence, great scene in a movie. Talk about that a little bit. Without you talk about whatever you want to talk about. It was awesome.
I agree. That's one of my favorite parts of the movie, and that was me, producer Brady Romberg, Josh Hill, Chris Clements, and Ryan Houchin, and just like 5 of us, and a crash pad, and a camera, and we just went up into the mountains in Burbank, and we put a crash pad. I'd climb up a hill, and basically I tried to go as close to the rocks as I could without hitting the rocks and hit the crash pad, and we just did that over and over again for I want to say we did that for like 5 hours until a ranger came by. And this ranger come by, and I was up I was probably like 40 feet up in a tree, and we had this crash pad, and I was going to jump through the leaves and crash onto this pad. And this guy looked up and was like, you guys have a permit? And then we didn't say anything. He just says, tell you what, I'm going to be back in 10 minutes. If I were you, I would not be here.
That's awesome.
It was cool. We got that last shot, packed up, and got out of there.
Was that all you?
Yeah, there's one quick shot in the hill fall. If you notice that there's a stunt guy, Antal did it, and it was out of necessity because we were shooting at the San Baracho bar, and we had second unit shooting some pieces of that hill fall in a different location at the same time, which I'm still bummed about because I wanted to do it. But Antal did a great job, and I'd say 95% of the hill fall was all me, falling down the thing and the rocks and taking bumps on the hill.
Okay, you used to bumping and feeding, being in the squared circle. Man, you're coming down this big-ass mountain.
Right.
Whatever you want to call it. Hell of a damn tumble.
Yeah.
Any bumps, bruises, injuries? You okay?
Oh, big time. So
you're selling.
Yeah, I'm bruised. I was really bruised. I didn't get injured on the hill fall, but hit my head, scratched my shoulders, my back, and my knees. And it was in moments like that where it was because it was my movie. I did not say anything. If it was another movie, I might have said like, "Hey guys, let's hold on a second. I need to put on some thicker knees, or does anyone have like a gaiter for my back or something?" But because it was this, and I knew we were running and gunning and up against the clock, it was just like a sprint, and I didn't care about anything.
But man, you're totally in this thing. You're invested. So you crib. You're number one. You ain't gonna see a whole lot of number ones on the call sheet doing this stuff, but you did, and that was one of my favorite scenes in the movie too. One of my other favorite scenes in the movie was when you was having a little come to Jesus meeting with Miguel. When you see this movie, you'll understand who Miguel is. The kid did a great job acting.
The kid's amazing. His name's Max. We had an LA screening. He couldn't make it, but he emailed me just yesterday and told me he was super excited for the movie. Max, if you listen to this, you did a great job.
Hey man, but when you're giving him the life lessons, and then after the movie's over, here's a whatever. Spoiler. Right. There's a gag reel, or what do you call it?
Yeah, like outtakes, gag reel.
Outtakes.
Whatever, yeah.
At the end of the movie. So there's a couple other takes in there of you laying down some life lessons for Miguel, and he busts on a couple of them, I think, as you do too.
I was trying to get him to bust the whole time. He kept a straight face for almost the whole thing.
Was all that dialogue? Did you throw a couple of zingers in at him, just winging it?
Oh man, so a little bit of that was scripted, but I just kind of went off the deep end with called it the linorama, where I would just go and go and go until Rob would. If Rob Curbison wasn't directing and trying to keep us on schedule, I could have given Miguel advice for hours because it was just whatever kind of weird advice you can think, give this kid and try to make him laugh, and it was a fun situation to be in.
Well, god dang, man. Before we take a commercial break here, pause for the calls for the sponsors to keep the show on the air. I drop it twice a week for free. Tell people how they can see this movie, and we're going to come back and talk more about it.
To see Boone the Bounty Hunter, you can get it on iTunes right now. You can get it on Amazon, Vimeo, Vudu, several other digital platforms. And you can follow me on Twitter at The Real Morrison, Instagram at John Hennigan, or my Facebook page, John Morrison, for more information about me and especially how to get booned.
Man, Boone The Bounty Hunter, it's a really, really fun movie. I want to talk fight scenes when we're coming back. I'm coming back with John Hennigan, the actor, talking Boone The Bounty Hunter. Okay, if you're like me and my illustrious wife, Kristen, then your dogs are like your children, too. And here's something nice you can do for the four-legged members of your family. Sign up for BarkBox. BarkBox is a subscription box service that picks the best all-natural treats and innovative toys to match your dog's needs. Each month's box is built around a certain theme and features 4 to 6 treats and toys. And all you have to do to make your dogs happy is sign up. BarkBox.com/Austin. It's easy. Choose a dog size, small and cute, just right, or big and bold, and then choose either a 1, 6, or 12-month plan and wait for your first box to show up. And if your dog doesn't like something in the box, let BarkBox know and they'll send you something else. But if there's something that your dog loves, you can find the same product again at BarkBox.com. So make your four-legged kids happy. Sign up at BarkBox.com/Austin. And when you do, you'll receive a free extra month of BarkBox. That's BarkBox.com/Austin to subscribe and get your free extra month. If you're in the market for a car, then you need to check out TrueCar. TrueCar gives you the price and information you need to feel confident about your purchase. When you register with TrueCar, you'll see what other people in your local area pay for the car you want. And from there, you can connect with a local TrueCar certified dealer and enjoy a more confident car buying experience. TrueCar shows you real pricing on actual inventory, so you need competitive pricing offered to you by TrueCar certified dealers for vehicles that are actually on their lots. And you'll also see all the dealer incentives before you get to the lot, so you can feel confident about the price when you show up. TrueCar makes car buying easy, no matter if you're looking for a brand new or used vehicle. And the stats, they don't lie. Over 3 million cars have been sold to TrueCar users by the TrueCar Certified Dealer Network. There are over 13,000 dealers in that network with some 700,000 pre-owned vehicles available. So do yourself a favor and go to TrueCar for your next car buying experience. TrueCar doesn't just make the process easier, it'll also save you some money. TrueCar users save an average of over $3,000 off MSRP. So when you're ready to buy a new or used car, visit TrueCar to enjoy a better car buying experience. Some features not available in all states.
This is the Steve Austin Show.
All right, man, here we are. The conversation continues. Let's talk about fight scenes. There's some goddamn good fight scenes, some good sequences in here, and you're a very athletic human being to begin with. You come from the world of pro wrestling. All of a sudden, you start to put together these fight scenes. So you got some great stunt people on this thing and some great coordinators, so choreographers. So how do you decide how that's going to go down?
One thing that was really important to me and something that I started from the very beginning of this project was Brady Romberg is been a friend of mine for 7 years. He's a stunt coordinator, stuntman who wanted to get into producing, and he's the one that I did the original Boone Sizzle trailer with, and was the one of the producers of Boone. So for a year before we even started filming, I want to say a couple days a week, me, him, and different stunt guys, David Elson, Kim Doe, Chris Brewster, and man, I'm leaving people out, but we would go to parkour gyms like Tempest or Jam, or even gymnastics places like Gymnastics Olympica, and previs stuff. And we just started prevising as much different kind of stuff as we could. And so when we got to set, we had this. We didn't have enough time to do what we did. Some of the previses were cooler than what we ended up with in the movie, but still, because of that. The DP, the second unit DP, Josh Hill, and Brady were very familiar with the kind of action that I was good at and the kind of action that I wanted to do. And I think that's one of the biggest things that separates this action from other movies. We went heavy with trying to find cool entries and exits to integrating pro wrestling moves into traditional stunt choreo, and in addition, using as much parkour as we could. So the fight scenes were some of the coolest things that the most fun that I had in the movie. And there's all kinds of, there's a Canadian destroyer in this thing, an elevator, FU, airplane spin, Davy Boy, power slam, the kid on the bar, his name's Alex, when Lorenzo pulls a shotgun. But the fight scenes were really important to me to be authentic, and and also to not have a bunch of stuff that I'm not good at, and also I don't know if people would want to see Boone the Bounty Hunter do kung fu. They want to see a guy like that hit hard, and even if it's a little bit clumsy, if it's a brawl and people are hitting the ground and getting hit hard, I think it's satisfying to watch.
What was cool about it was you actually had a little bit of vulnerability in this thing because of the two badass guys. Well, throughout the whole movie, and Boone has a heart, and the movie has a heart,
right?
And all of a sudden, when everything hits the fan, you start feeling for Boone. And sometimes in the movie, he's a little aloof because sometimes he's a little stuck on himself. But it's all about the show, and you get invested in his character. But he's not just a tough guy who's going to beat everybody up and snarl through the whole thing. A lot of it, some of it's tongue in cheek, or there's a smile on your face, or just a little smirk. But you can take an ass whooping as well as give one out in this movie.
Right, and I think that's the key to a good babyface in wrestling, right? Is how tough you are. It's not to quote Stallone, how many times you get hit. It's how many times you get up. And the bad guys and the people that Boone was fighting in this movie were what really created the stakes. In the bar fight, there's a guy in there named Maverick, and he's a legit badass guy. He's a MMA fighter. I want to say he's had like 130 fights, something like that. And staring down face to face with a guy like that is a little bit scary, because for sure the thought crossed my mind. I was like, it's a good thing Maverick's a nice guy, because
no, dude, I was watching that scene. That's a great point, because you're talking about the original dude who's a little bit shorter than you, right? Tatted up.
Yeah,
real intense cat.
Yeah.
I was thinking that, I was like, man, this dude looks like he's for shoot tough.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know who he was.
He's a career, he's been a career-long MMA fighter.
So sometimes you wonder, hey, man, is this cat going to go off the reservation? Or, is he going to take a liberty? Or, is he going to clock you? And
then as soon as you start to think about that, then I always flip out, because I'm like, dang, no, get out of my head. That's good. That's what you want. You want to wonder that, because it means if you're thinking about that, people watching are probably thinking that too. Let me bring back something so before we talk about Latif and TJ Storm, the Capoeira guys, because they're ridiculously talented. I had a fight scene in the Sizzle trailer for Boone that I was shopping around for a long time with a buddy of yours, Josh Barnett. Who
I just talked to him the other day on the phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah. He helped me out with the Sizzle trailer. We had a really fun fight in an apartment complex in downtown. No permit. We just fighting in a hallway, and we'd run out in the hallway and do a take of this fight scene. And the super of the building was pacing back and forth, and they would check and look around upstairs, and no one was there. And then they'd go down, and then they'd hear crashing and kicks and sounds, and run back up and check again. But he's another guy that the scheduling didn't work out for him to be in the movie when we were shooting. But a guy that you look at, and he was punching me, and he's so close to making contact, or making just enough contact that it's legitimately scary. And a lot of people talk about fighting Bruce Lee. They talk about that, how close he came to cleaning people's clocks, because it was so precise with his fight choreo. He's in the movie for I want to say a couple seconds in one of the reality show sequences. But I wanted to throw that out there, because I've always liked that fight with him.
How is fighting for camera for you? How do you like it versus what we do in the ring? Because it's a whole different ball game.
I don't think anything's as cool as wrestling. The difference for me is in wrestling you get amped up, you do everything once. You're fighting for a live crowd. And there's no takes or redos. If something gets messed up, you improvise and you just go on. In film, it's got to be more precise. And to make things look cool and dynamic in film, a lot of it depends on your performance, the stunt guy's performance, and a lot of it depends on who's shooting it, the camera movements and the placement. And you sell things differently depending on where the camera is placed. So there's a learning curve for stunt choreo, because in wrestling you just hit people. I mean, it's a live crowd. If you're throwing a forearm or a punch, you just hit somebody. But in stunt choreo for movies, if you just hit somebody, it actually looks weaker. It doesn't sell, because if there's no follow through. When people are watching it on a screen with camera movement and camera cuts, it doesn't look as dynamic. So it's a specific skill set that I've been working on it pretty hard. I mean, when I was on I want to say when I was on Tough Enough, I'd already started training at 8711. And I was talking to you back then about training with Danny Hernandez and Chad and Dave Leach. And I haven't been in a long time now, but I believe so. I think they're I heard he's still running it, and obviously he's killing it. He made John Wick 2, talented guy.
Yeah, the thing I like about being in the ring is just, man, everything's contact.
Yeah.
You're pulling, but I mean, it's not about an angle. You're making contact. The other guy's going to sell, and so because I wasn't memorizing anything.
Yeah.
It was just it was ad lib. Whatever I'm throwing is whatever the guy's selling. If I want to go body, go to the stomping mud hole or big right hands, and then come up with just a big left hand or whatever I wanted to do, the guy was going to just take it as it came. You can't do that in film. You got to remember it. Yeah. And here's the problem: when we're talking about movies that are shot on a dime, man, a lot of times you don't get a chance to rehearse as much as you would like to. Like you said, you were talking earlier about the previs kind of stuff, right?
And the funny thing is, all that time we spent prevising, we barely used any of it because the people we prevised with all got hired for different shows and they were gone. So when we got to the day, it's like we were in a different environment with different people, and if we had to try to recreate this previs, it would have been almost like starting from scratch anyway. So it just turned into working with a lot of the people on set and maximizing, prioritizing, getting the best we could out of what we were working with.
Well, I give props to the camera work as well because as good as the fight scenes were, the camera work was very dynamic in capturing it.
Yeah.
Just with the angles and the cuts, you saw stuff. Because I always like to see stuff when things are too many cuts too fast and you can't really see what's going on, but you want that energy in there. And I thought y'all did that. Not too many cuts, not too much BS. You saw good action.
Absolutely. Like I'm a fan of that type of action as well. The type of stuff that Jackie Chan's been doing, for years. That's as far as an action movie, like a type of like mentor. I mean, I've never met the guy, but the type of action I wanted to emulate, it was always his type stuff because it was really wide and you could see everything happen. And as opposed to take the Bourne movies, for example, which I'll say that action is also amazing and really well shot. But it's close, shaky camera. It's just not what I grew up on and not what I wanted to do.
Yeah, it's
it's just different.
It's a long day at the office to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd rather see something that more looks like a real fight. That stuff is exciting because of all the quick cuts. But, when you break it down, it's like, oh, come on, man. Show me a little bit more. I want to see what the hell's going on here.
Exactly. You're watching the movie to watch the action. And if the action isn't satisfying, it kind of starts to feel like you got cheated.
Tell me about
TJ and Lateef, the Capoeira guys.
Oh, yeah.
Got to put them over for a quick sec.
Oh, yeah, but those guys are awesome, man. Go ahead and tell the story because you got to drop it.
Okay, so Lateef Crowder, TJ Storm, two talented Capoeira guys. TJ Storm, Martial Arts Hall of Fame. Lateef Crowder is an elite stunt guy and performer, works on movies all the time. I'll just tell this story. They both super talented, super nice guys, and a little intimidating. Not because of their menacing, but both of them, Lateef especially, is intimidating because of his skill level. You talk about remembering stuff. Like if you go over like a 10 or a 20 beat fight sequence, he needs to go over it once, and he's got it perfect. Every hit sells from every angle. I need to go over it a couple times, and sometimes more than a couple times, and sometimes I forget. So I'm like, dang it, like I've been thinking about this movie forever, and then Lateef walks in, he's nailing everything like it's nothing. So the first day we were doing this fight scene, and I was already starting to feel like a little bit like I was getting blown out of the water by these two guys. And I'd been joking with director Rob Curbison, who's a nice guy, really, really friendly guy from Canada. And we'd been telling all these Milli Vanilli jokes about these two guys. And Rob stepped out for a second, and TJ and Lateef and I were just talking, like shooting the breeze on set. And Lateef started talking about it. He's like, man, it's like annoying. Like anytime we're together, like, and TJ jumps in, he's like, everyone just starts making Milli Vanilli jokes. It's like, how old is that? It's like nonstop, like Milli Vanilli. Like we haven't heard that before. And then right away, like Rob walks back on. He didn't hear any of that. And he's like, hey, John, finally we get to do those Milli Vanilli jokes. And they both looked at him and looked at me, and I was like, yeah, we've been talking about that for a while.
Dude, as soon as I saw those guys, that's what I thought. I was like Milli Vanilli. But then I'm sitting there thinking, okay, man, these two dudes, they almost look like twin brothers.
Yeah.
And they got the dreads, and I'm thinking, man, these guys, they ain't going to be for real. They just got, Milli Vanilli looks.
Right.
And boy, all of a sudden they started putting some beat downs on you and showing their stuff. And I was like, man, these guys are laying their shit in. There's some good stuff.
We, for specifically for those two parts, we were looking for, we were trying to cast stunt actors that could carry the fight scenes more so than we were worried about I mean, obviously they have to carry the acting and the performance as well, but the first, they were our first choice because of their reputation in the stunt community.
They're badass.
Yeah, they're just badass dudes.
Oh, here's a question for you. Did they speak Spanish?
Portuguese. Actually, Latif is from Brazil, and he speaks fluent Portuguese. TJ learned some Portuguese for the movie.
Okay, no, I was sitting there watching them, the dialogue that they did have, and I think, man, these dudes are from Mexico. I mean, so they had me fooled.
Yeah.
So I was down with it.
Yeah. No, they like Latif especially. I forget his full story, but he grew up in Brazil and was practicing capoeira there. And then when he came here to the States, that's why he's done everything. He played Eddie Griffin in the capoeira guy in like the Tekken movie.
They had a hell of a look to them.
Yeah,
they look scary as hell.
Anytime you've got two talented martial artists kind of walking towards you at the same time, it'll scare the piss out of you.
And I don't want to give away the ending of the fight. Q and Quentin Rampage Jackson.
Yeah.
So let's move on. Let's go to Quentin.
Okay.
How was working with him? Man, that dude, he was a dangerous guy back in the day, and I know he still is.
He's still fighting. He's still fighting a couple times a year. But I met him a couple times through Chavo Guerrero, actually, and his manager, Robert Galarza. And we had a couple wild nights. There was a real fun one time with Rampage at David Arquette's bar. Maybe the rest of the story is for off the air. But super fun night with Rampage, and became buds with him. And this whole time, I was writing this movie, and I'd already started working on it, but maybe like a year or 2 years until before we started shooting, I started doing all the rewrites with him in mind, like thinking I didn't even plan to name this character Jackson, but his name is Rampage Jackson. It's perfect. And eventually, I knew I was going to ask him to be in the movie, and when I asked him, he was real excited about it. And I don't know why I thought he was going to say no, or he couldn't do it, or be upset, but he was honored and stoked, and said as long as he was free, he'd come out and do it for sure. And it ended up working out. And like you saw in the movie, he's like, I don't think people understand how funny that dude is. He is laughing nonstop, and he has a really funny point of view of of fighting, wrestling, movies, and life in general.
Tell me about the Boone the Bounty Hunter character. How were you on set? I've heard stories of Daniel Day-Lewis when he's shooting, I guess, My Left Foot, whatever it was, when he was in a wheelchair, and they said he wouldn't come out of his chair. They were feeding him, baby food out of a spoon, and they had to pick up his chair to move cables. So that's just what I heard. I mean, that was him staying in character. What about John Hennigan on set as Boone the Bounty Hunter? How far in were you into this, and, how far did you go with it?
Well, first of all, I think everyone probably got sick of me making Boone jokes, like after Boone Delight and Habuna Matata, Boone Voyage. It
was great.
People on set heard that a lot.
Yeah.
But as far as me on set, I was pretty much all business because I was so stressed. I was wearing a couple different hats. So I was as an actor trying to do the best job I could at acting, like remembering the lines and rehearsing and going through stuff with Osric and Spencer. But I was also thinking about the fight choreo, and when we saw locations a lot of times, I was like, oh damn, we're gonna have to change this fight scene a lot because we were going to do a wall run and there's no wall to run off because it's a prop wall. And so I was thinking about that. Then I was also thinking about production stuff, we only have 12 hours at the LA Center stages, and we only have 6 hours left, and we're only 3 pages into a 9-page day. That means we got to start picking up this clip. And so I was worried about a lot of stuff and kind of stressed. And I don't think I didn't sit down a lot, that's for sure. And I feel like every minute of the day I was either going over lines with myself or with the other actors, or working with Brady and Tim Ulick and David Elson, whoever was there from stunts on fight scenes, and thinking of ideas to morph our fight scenes to fit the areas that we had.
Well, dude, if you're saying remember lines and you've been working on this thing for a couple of years, how hard was that for you?
Well, first of all, I'm a pro wrestler first, and wrestlers get hit in the head a lot. But there was times actually where I think because I'd been working on it for so long that sometimes the lines were easy, but sometimes I got confused about which draft we were on. Because I'd written draft 1 and read that draft, a half dozen times, and then by the time we shot it, we were on draft 20 or 21. So I'd been present for these lines, evolving the entire time. But I worked with an acting coach a lot, and a lot of the acting to me was about not just remembering the lines. It was they did this trick where you're supposed to be able to say the lines while throwing up like a ball or something. So you can say the lines without thinking about them. So you can think about something else while you're saying the lines. And until you had the lines in your head that good, you're not really, in my opinion, for this movie, I didn't think I was going to really be acting. I would just be kind of like regurgitating lines. So I was hell-bent on every day getting the lines that well memorized.
So when you watch a movie back, how hard are you on yourself? You say, oh, man, I can improve here. No, I nailed that. I mean, because like when I go back and watch old matches of myself, I'm thinking, hey, man, even in WrestleMania 13, when I kicked Brett between the legs and I went down in the turnbuckle and he went down. Now I look back and I said, Jesus Christ, you could have milked that for a solid 60 seconds. I started slowly climbing up the ropes, but I'm thinking, you should have stayed down. So I critique 17, knock it out of the park with The Rock. I can critique that match. Dude, you could have done this. When you watch yourself, not wrestling, on the big screen, how are you?
I hate watching myself back because I liked watching Boone at the screenings because it felt like the movie was done. But before the movie was done, it was rough, and I think I probably drove Mark Spencer, the editor, and Ashley Brookins, the editor, and Rob crazy with my notes because I was really hard on my performance and delivery, and like you said, like every time you watch a match back, and for me, same with matches, but for this movie too, a scene back, I started getting into like minutia, like I could have paused for an extra second before delivering that line, or maybe like my words were a little slurred. Why didn't I speak louder? Or why didn't I lean back more? Like I was really micromanaging the performance and the edit for a long time, which is partly why two things: why it took so long, and also why you're never going to be completely happy with anything, but I'm pretty happy with the way it turned out, and partly it's because of that. I think over the last year made the movie quite a bit better with all that micromanaging.
When I would be driving home from a set on The Condemned, I would be thinking, if I could just do that scene one more time. That's what my mentality was. If I just had one more swing at it. And that was my first movie. I didn't know anything what I was doing. And then when I had the opportunity to work with Stallone in Expendables, he was number one. He wrote it. He was directing it. So we had the luxury of having the money and Stallone being number one and being the man. Man, we'd watch every single take on playback there on the set. So on this dime, on your dime, did y'all have the luxury or time to watch a playback and then do another take, or just go?
No, we had to just go. There's some of the days when we were doing pickups, like the Hill Fall, for example, we had the luxury of watching playback because then it's just there's not a fire marshal or like trailers or 30 people waiting there. It's just 5 of us and a camera, so we can watch the playback. But on the big production days, like your $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 days, those are the days we were like, no playback. Just if you're not happy, shoot it again, and then after that, move on because there's no more time. And it starts to eat up time on those low budget films. And if you're watching playback, you're starting to take up time where you could be using to do another take.
Man, I enjoyed the hell out of this movie, and to me, seemingly on the go home, set it up for round 2.
Oh, yeah. Man, Corbin Burnson knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. That was a personal friend of the director, Rob Kurbison, came out, and we shot that scene like maybe a year after we wrapped the movie. And the idea being that I would love to do a sequel or trilogy to Boone The Bounty Hunter. I've already pitched it a couple places. I've pitched it as a TV series. And I think the thing with movies and entertainment is if it does really well, I could see that happening. But really, it just depends on how people like it and respond to it. And if it does well, I bet you it'll end up being a sequel or trilogy or TV show. And if not, I got to think about the next project.
Man, this no bullshit. I really enjoyed this damn movie. If you're a John Morrison fan or a Johnny Mundo fan, whatever, or now a John Hennigan fan, check his movie out. It's really, really fun, about an hour and a half long. I got to give props real quick because I don't want to gloss these cats over. Denny and Kat in the movie, your partners in crime there as part of the Boone the Bounty Hunter team, and also the young lady back at the office. But especially Denny and Kat, they were awesome.
Dominique Swain, the lady back in the office, very talented actress. Denny and Kat. So Denny, Osric Chow, a really talented actor out of Vancouver. He had a nice run on Supernatural and has a huge following from Supernatural. And Kat, played by Spencer Grammer, which is Kelsey Grammer's daughter. She did a show called The Greek and also does a voice on Rick and Morty, which is an awesome cartoon that's on right now that I actually watched before I realized it was her voice. And then when that epiphany hit, I was like, whoa, holy crap. So both of them, I think, are what enabled me to elevate my acting game, because they're seasoned actors with chops. And when I was acting opposite them, they grounded the scenes in reality, and they created a theatrical reality that felt real, and made me realize that, hey, like I'm about to step on set with Spencer Grammer, who's been a career actress and borderline Hollywood royalty. His dad is Kelsey Grammer, dad is Frazier, and Osric, who's I look up his IMDb. He's done about 100 things, killing it on Supernatural, and he's doing another show now, actually, as we speak, in Vancouver. But career actors. So I felt like that was probably why I was so stressed every day, because I was like, these guys are coming. They're off book. They're ready to go, and they've done scenes with A-list actors for years, and. Anytime you're, it's kind of like wrestling, you can only, if you're in the ring with somebody great, you can wrestle up to their level. And that's what they did. They really pulled me up to their level.
I'm glad you said that, because, man, one story from me real quick. We was in Australia. I was in my trailer eating dinner, and I was fixing to, it was lunch, and we was fixing to do a scene with my wife in a movie. And hey, man, so-and-so wants to come into the, I can't even remember. I've been hit over the head with so many steel chairs, to your point.
It happens.
Very talented Australian actress. She's my wife, and all of a sudden she comes in there, and we're going back and forth on the script, and I'm still on the page a little bit, meaning I don't have it fully memorized. Of course, Yep. She's a career actress, and she's awesome. And so there's a part in the movie where she starts crying, and I'm sitting there shoveling food in my mouth, reading the lines, and all of a sudden she just starts turning on the water faucets and starts just tears just streaming out of her eyes, and I'm thinking, holy smokes, I think I'm in over my head here.
Yeah.
This chick is really, really good.
Right. And you're like, that's the run through, and she's rehearsing lines, and that level, there's a lot to be said for acting as an art, and I learned a lot about it. I'm glad I didn't do Boone first. It wasn't the first thing I did after I left. I did maybe 8 or 10 like really cheap, low budget films before Boone, and a bunch since. But as far as acting goes, you know what I've actually learned, I'm working with a coach now named Hank Bearings, and he kind of distills acting in a way that I like it. It's really about knowing your role, and for Boone, and a lot of times I feel like the type of roles that I gravitate to the most. For Boone, the role of my character as Boone is to bring the fun. If I'm grounded and real, and I'm bringing the fun, and I'm enjoying myself, then the scenes work. And if I'm tired or grouchy, or I'm not enjoying myself, or I'm self-conscious, you can see through it in a second.
I was filming an episode of Chuck a couple of years back, and one of the young ladies on the show, she was 33 years old, and she'd been acting since she was 3. So she'd been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah.
She was part of all kinds of different things that you can get into. They're the best of the best. And
right.
So anyway, we're clipping along, and of course, they're throwing new dialogue at them, and they're just absorbing it like a sponge and just spitting it out, because that's what they do all the time,
Right.
You know how it is, and just like putting a match together. Okay, when you're doing it all the time, you get it real quick, because you're good or you're not. So anyway, we're just conversing while we're between takes, and she says to me, who are you studying with? And I said, well, what do you mean? She goes, who are you studying with? Don't you go to, like these things, like 8 or 10 actors will get together and they'll study a scene, they'll go over the scene and do all this stuff. And I said, nobody. And she goes, why not? I said, well, what do you mean? I said, do you? Absolutely.
Yeah.
And she was like, she'd been doing this for 30 years, and she still studied and was pursuing it. She goes, I think she summed it up like this. She goes, you go to the gym every day, right? I said, oh, yeah. And that's all she said. I said,
they do. They always hit me with those weightlifting metaphors, too.
Yeah. But God dang,
It's true, though. It makes a big difference. And I think that's probably what separates the good from the great.
Yeah. Hey, well, since a big part of my crowd is the pro wrestling scene, Let's end up on a pro wrestling note real briefly. What's next? Lucha Underground, Johnny Mundo. When you're traveling to Iowa and all these different places, are you Johnny Mundo?
It depends. I was Boone at the show in Iowa. In PCW June 2nd, I have a match against Rob Van Dam, and I'm wrestling as John Hennigan. That's a cool promotion. Yeah, it's an up and coming fed. They're drawing like 600, 700, 800 people a show at that PCW place. Sometimes I wrestle as Morrison, sometimes I wrestle as Mundo. It depends on the promotion. I just kind of throw it up there and let them decide.
So which one draws the most? Or which one, let me ask you this question, which one do you enjoy performing as the most?
Every time I get asked that question, I always kind of think, Johnny Nitro, Mundo, Morrison, like I kind of do the same thing. It's the names are a little different. John Morrison's the Shaman of Sexy. Johnny Mundo's the Mayor of Slamtown. Got catchphrases for all of them, but I'm kind of me. Best wrestling is when yourself with the volume turned up, and that's what I do wherever I go. Whether I'm a face, the good parts of me are turned up, or a heel, the fun parts of me are turned up.
Well, let me ask you a question. How old are you right now?
37.
37. God dang, you're still young. Got some good years left on your bump card. You look like $1 million. How are you feeling?
Surprisingly well. I don't know why it's surprisingly, but every time I'm out there, I feel like my wrestling game has elevated to a higher level than it was even with WWE. I think part of it is actually due to all that training I did for Boone The Bounty Hunter. I've really pushed the parkour and the martial arts tricking, and then with Lucha, started integrating that stuff even more into my wrestling. But I still feel great. Yeah, I don't know if you know this or not. I got a ring in my backyard now, and train a couple nights a week. People come over. I still train and do parkour and stunt choreo a couple nights a week too. And after this, I'm probably going to hit Gold's Venice. But I've been after it. I feel like part of who I am is defined by a lot of the physicality that I have or that I display when I'm out there, and I'm not ready to let go of that yet. I think I'm still improving, which is crazy for someone that's 37.
16, 18, 20-foot ring. What you got?
I was 16.
There you go. Yeah. Man, those 16-footers are fun. Yeah. And when you get on a big show in WWE, that 20-footer is really nice. But it takes some acclimation. And I guess Dallas is probably 18-footer, WCW is 18-footer, and all of a sudden you get that 20-footer when you get to New York. It's like, holy smokes.
It's almost weird.
Yeah, you got to start blowing up.
Take an extra step going when you're hitting the ropes.
But then when you go to those little tent towns and those smaller towns and you're working at 16-footers.
The Cape Cod, like the Melody tent and all that stuff.
Man, you talk about fun.
Yeah.
And those things have the greatest sound effects when you give someone a bump or take a big backdrop. And quick story, one time I was working with God dang, PJ Polaco, what was his, Aldo Montoya, and Jake the Snake Roberts was his mentor. And so I gave Justin Credible about 16 or 17 vertical suplexes. And every time I'd look at Jake and I said, "This one's for you." It was a rib, So me and PJ were having a blast out there, and he was selling because he was a really good worker, a really good seller, and we were having a blast. And just the noise coming off that 16-foot arena in those tent towns, it was just amazing. But it gave me a flashback to that. Last question: with respect to your weight program, what are you doing? Because you've always had good genetics, but you always put in the work and don't just eat a bunch of trash. What are you doing with your workouts just to stay in such good shape?
I don't know if I ever even told you about this, but I have a full workout program called Out of Your Mind Fitness, www.outofyourmindfitness.com. It's a functional training regimen that I've been doing pretty consistently now since 2010 is when I started it. The program came out in 2012. But I combine functional training like your quadruped push-ups and pistol squats with some old school bodybuilding stuff because the functional training I think is the best for performance, but every once in a while I want to really hit. If you really want to hit buys or chest or something, sometimes it's just nice to do some old school Dorian Yates stuff and get your muscles pumped because aesthetics is important too. So a combo of that functional training and old school bodybuilding and the pro wrestling and the parkour and gymnastics is what really I feel like has been keeping me agile.
What are you weighing right now?
I'm about 205.
205, and he's about to head out the door and hit Gold's Gym Venice. Tell everybody I said hello. I'm talking to John Hennigan. Go check out Boone The Bounty Hunter, and that's the bottom line because I said so. Thanks for coming over.
Thanks for having me.
All right, everybody, give me the go-home cue. It's time to wrap up this podcast and ride off in the sunset. Before I do that, I want to thank John Hennigan for coming by the crib the other day and sitting down and talking with me. I wouldn't shake Johnny's hand when he came in, I don't even know if we did a knuckle bump. I told him that I had the flu, had the cold, the superbug, whatever's been kicking my ass. And he said, hey, man, I'm coming anyway. Johnny, it was good talking to you. Best of luck with this movie that I'm about to recommend. Everybody goes and see. I really enjoyed the movie. It's fun. It's got some great action sequence. It's a good story. The movie doesn't take itself too serious, and I really enjoyed it, and I think you will too. Matter of fact, I'm betting you will too. And if you get a chance to watch this movie, send me an email at questions@steveaustonshow.com and let me know what you thought about it, because when I give something a recommendation, it's a total shoot. Anyway, so my video of the week is Boone the Bounty Hunter, starring the one and only John Hennigan. Yours truly, Johnny Mundo. Get it on iTunes or Amazon. You'll be glad you did. Hey, all the shirts that you saw me wear on last season of Broken Skull Challenge, they're at ProWrestlingTees.com/Steve Austin. And if you're looking for the best IPA on the planet, get my Steve Austin's Broken Skull IPA from El Segundo Brewing Company. Stop at a brewery if you're in Cali. Pick it up at Whole Foods and Total Wines if you're in Cali. Or order it from InsideTheCellar.com if you live in a state they ship to. And you can find everything that's Steve Austin related at BrokenSkullRanch.com, including the Cold Steel Broken Skull knife and my new Working Man knife. And thanks for supporting all the fine sponsors of the Steve Austin Show, because that's how I'm able to do this podcast for you twice a week for free. And you can find all my sponsors at PodcastOne.com. Just click on the Killer Deals button at the top of the page and then click on the Steve Austin Show banner. Hey, the 60-second AP News headlines are coming up next. Until then, my name is Steve Austin. I'm making a comeback, and I'll catch your ass down the road.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.